Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be looking at the Honda CR-V, the most sporty SUV that Honda currently offers in Germany. Starting price is going to be 42,900 euros and the starting price, or the price of the car we have here, 47,900 euros. In this video, we're going to be test driving it, look at what you get for the price, and if you should buy this car, or maybe look at something else. The car is supposed to be a little bit more of a sportier one, and you can change a couple of things to it to make it look more sporty. First of all, you can get the elegance, you can get the sport variant, or also the advanced variant, which we have standing here. With that, you get a panoramic window, for instance, you get more subwoofers in a total of 12 speakers, and a couple of other things. You can also pick up a black variant for it, so like a black edition on the outside, which makes it that the Honda logo is in black, that the side mirrors are going to be in black, and also the rear roof spoiler is going to be in black. We have it standing here in a fairly nice red color, in my opinion, which is going to be the radiant red color, which just adds nicely to the couple of black touches we get all around the car. That's going to cost you 800 euros extra, and that's how it comes to the total price of 47,900 euros. In the front, we get the Honda logo, which is going to have the blue kind of backlight to it, due to the fact that it is a car that has an electrical component from Honda, and that's how they show it to you. You get full LED lights with high beam assistant, automatic high beam assistant. You get a grille in the front, which has black touches, and some more black touches here in the front, which in my opinion just look fairly decent, and some air curtains on this side. Under the hood, however, because it is a full hybrid system, we're going to look at that because Honda does it a little bit different. But what does that mean? Well, you get a 2-liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine, but that engine isn't being used as the main component. That engine is used to kind of send the power and like recharge the battery, in the sense that the battery is then going to power 2 electrical motors in the front, which are going to be your main power source. So you're mostly driving an EV. However, you will hear the engine because it's going to recharge the battery. That engine is going to have 143 horsepower with also 186 newton meters. And in total, you're going to have a system power of 184 horsepower with also 350 newton meters, 0 to 100 in 8 seconds, and a top speed of 173 kilometers an hour. The combustion engine does come into play at around 110 kilometers an hour. It will turn on in order to be a little bit more efficient, but at around 140 kilometers an hour, the EV is going to kick in again, or the electrical components, because then that engine is going to be a little bit more fuel efficient. And you will see it is a quite fuel efficient car when it comes to the way that they have laid it out here. Even though it might sound a little bit complicated, we'll see a little bit of graphics when we're driving, that it's actually not as complicated as you might think, but it is actually quite nice to drive and very fuel efficient. And on the left side of the car, you will be able to fuel it up with a fuel tank of 57 liters and also a fuel consumption of 5.7 liters WLTP. What we've been able to get, we'll look at that here in a second when we're driving. And with that consumption, you would theoretically be able to drive this car up to 1,000 kilometers. And like I said, in the rear, you would be able to pick this up here in a complete black variant on the back if you want. We get a fairly nice rear window here, which is also tinted, obviously. We get our Honda logo again, which is going to have that black, the blue backlit, and CR-V, and also no fake exhaust pipes on the bottom, with also our lights, which have a nice little design here, a little bit like a chunky one in my opinion. If you open the trunk, which is going to be electrical, in here we'll have 370 up to 1,291 liters. If you get the advanced variant, if you don't get the advanced variant, you will see here on the side, with the advanced variant, we get that bigger subwoofer on the back. You would theoretically get 10 liters more if you don't get the advanced variant, so the elegance or the sport. Under here, we don't have too much storage space. You have your safety kits and also your hazard lights in there. Not hazard light, but your hazard kind of warning sign. And this is also another thing, kind of like Volvo does it. You can flip out like the half of the back floor and flip it over so you can put some smaller items behind it, which is quite nice. And you can also take it out completely if you want. We also have a 60-40 split here with a fairly wide gap in the middle, which allows you to get a little bit more storage space if you obviously flip it over all the way. We also have this function here, which basically if you press it, walk away, the car will automatically close and also, well, lower the tailgate obviously. But that boot space is not going to be the biggest, and actually on the smaller side when it comes to its competitors. Let's look at some of the competitors. Volkswagen Tiguan, for instance, starts at around 38,250 euros, but gets a boot space of 550 liters, which is already quite big. Mazda CX-5, 522 liters. Nissan Qashqai, around 504 liters. A Toyota Corolla Cross, 414 liters. Then you also have a Ford Kuga with 412 liters, which is the smallest out of them. And then also there's Skoda Karoq, which is going to have 512 liters. So this is definitely on the smaller side. And if you want, you could also tow something with this car up to 750 kilograms. And on top of that towing hook, you would also be able to put 75 kilograms, and on the roof, 65. And the car is going to be 4 meters and 57 of length. It's going to be 2 meters and 10 centimeters wide without this, with the side mirrors being extended, and also 1 meter and 61 in height. When it comes to the car, fairly nice design here on the side in my opinion. We get privacy glass here on the back, a little bit more of a sloped one. We don't obviously have a straight back here, a little bit more of a sportier looking design. And we also have keyless go or keyless entry in the front, where you can open the car and close it. I just closed it, so if I do like this, it's obviously going to open, which is quite nice and simple. We have the 18-inch rims on here. You get different designs for each variant that you get, so the Elegant, Sport, or also the Advanced. We have the 18-inch rims on here. You could also theoretically pick up 19-inch rims if you do, but these are the standard ones you get with the Elegance variant, with the Advanced variant. And join me in the back here of the ZR-V, where you can see I'm 1.80 m tall, 5'11". I get quite a good amount of space in the front. The seat in front of me is actually not adjusted to my height. It's kind of its, well, memory function, kind of easy to get in function, where it goes a little bit back. It would theoretically move a little bit forward. Footroom is also quite plenty. The seat's also quite squishy, so I can put my knees in there quite wide or well. The bench, however, is going to be a little bit more on the lower side. So if I'm just sitting normal, you can see very big inclination here of my upper thigh. If I ever go a little bit lower, then they will rest on the bench, which is not too bad. Let's look at the quality on the side as well, which is very decent actually. We have softer material up on the top, softer material everywhere here. A little bit of speaker there, softer material here where you put your elbow. This is going to be harder plastic, and down here obviously also a little bit harder with a cup holder there as well, which is quite nice. You also get heated seats here for both of your outer space here, or outer seats. Also no center tunnel, because we obviously only have a front wheel drive system, so we don't need a drivetrain to go to the back, which is quite nice. 2 USB-Cs in the center, and also some climatization in here, which is not your own climate zone, but your climatization. We also have a center console, which we can flip over, which gives us 2 cup holders, so just 2 cup holders. Isofix points are also integrated in here with this little pocket in there. And we also have a panoramic window, which you obviously get with the highest variant, which is quite nice and will also open. And join me in the inside now of the Honda ZR-V. When we're looking in the inside, the quality is actually quite nice. On the side here, for instance, nice material. Down here, softer material. Here, softer material with some stitching. This panel is going to be harder plastic, but that's not an issue. And down here, actually also a little bit of a softer material, which, well, it's soft in the sense that you can bend it inwards, but it is hard plastic. Otherwise, up on the dashboard, also quite nice material in general. Feeling quite nice. You can listen to this. We get heated seats here for the front as well, and in general, a quite nice interior. Inductive charging space, which you get with the second highest variant. 2 cup holders. This kind of complicated layout of the, well, not complicated, just a little bit weird. Park, reverse is you press it inwards, neutral, and then drive. A little bit of a shifter would have just been nice in my opinion, but that's typical Honda. And drive modes and stuff like that. USB and also another USB-C on the side here with a little bit of storage space on the bottom. Quite big storage space there. And in general, a fairly nice interior with also the panoramic window or the sunroof, which you can obviously also open. Steering wheel is also quite nice because you get all physical buttons. You get a heads-up display, infotainment display or digital cockpit, and also infotainment display. Let's quickly just start up the electronics of this car. Ta-da! And there we are finally. Took a little bit there. And this is a little bit of, like I said, already a maze because there's a lot of menus, and the first time you look at it, okay, there's a lot of buttons down here, there's a lot of things here. You go into your settings, for instance, and then you still have quite a lot of sub-menus in there. You have the back button there. There's also no function that I've found, like a quick bind to turn off your e-warning assistant. The only way you can do it if you go into your assistant features and then you turn off all the settings for your speed sign detection. You can turn all of those off, and then you don't get speed detection. If you have anywhere found, or if you found way to quickly turn it off, let me know in the comments. That would probably help out a lot of people as well, not just my, well, small brain. But yeah, like I said, you get heated seats, nice, like I said, already nice controls here. I like that it's also separated from the infotainment display. That's quite nice. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is also wireless in here, so you can just press on it, use Apple CarPlay and or Google Maps, for instance. Quite simple to use. Let's look at the reversing camera, which is not the highest quality. However, your trajectory lines do move according to your input, and you also have a couple of different views here. For instance, this top-down view, which is not bad. Let's now start backing up here, and let's also take a look at the driving characteristics of this car. It is obviously the full hybrid, and therefore we're currently looking at... There we go. Look, that was a stupid thing. That ought to irritated me, because I was pressing forward and I thought, oh, okay, I gotta quickly get you out of here as well. And let's now start off driving here in a fairly small and a little bit of a tighter space here. And the car does a good job because it's not the biggest, and therefore you just have a fairly nice, well, characteristics of the, well, you know the dimensions of the car quite well. You get a fairly big rear window, which you can see basically everything out of. If you want to point out the rear, the window on the back, quite big. Pillars are also not going to be that intrusive, so surrounding view in here is definitely given. And also the bonnet is quite visible, so you can see everything over the bonnet and just judge the dimensions of the car very well, which is quite nice for this. Heads-up display gives you all the relevant information that you need. Digital cockpit is also quite loaded. You can, however, change a couple of things in there. For instance, on the right side, if I press on it, you can go down, look at, well, you can change a couple of things and show what you want to see in there. I'm just going to put back into Apple CarPlay, and on the right side you can also show a couple of other things. You can also change the heads-up display on the right side, or you can also change a little bit of the layout of the instrument here. If you want, for instance, the side to be long, you can have it like that, or the classic design just round, which I kind of like a little bit more. So you can have a little bit of way that you want to have the layout displayed in there. Let's also quickly go into the drive mode. You have Eco, Sport, and Snow, and Normal. If you go into Sport, let's see the kick here real quick. 184 horsepower. Just the combustion engine is going to be 143 horsepower. And then we have that interesting layout of the two electrical motors and the engine. You can see here the way it works. Currently we're using the engine to kind of push us forward, and also the electrical motor because we are in sport mode. We just want to use that full power at all times. If we ever go back into some other modes, most of the times, you can see right now, it is using the engine to also charge the battery and then also drive the wheels basically. Now it's just using the engine as well, and then obviously recuperation works as well. When you're obviously slowing down now, you can see here the recuperation is working in effect there. And sometimes it also, lots of the times to a certain speed, it also uses the engine as a generator to charge up the battery, and then the battery is being used to basically power the car. And then that engine is going to be in a fairly optimal Newton meter and RPMs, and therefore be fairly efficient, which in terms leads to a very efficient car, an efficient layout of that hybrid system, which is quite nice. In the city, most of the times you're just driving an EV. That's the capabilities of a full hybrid, which makes this car quite efficient. I've read a lot of online around 3.7 up to 4.5 liters. We've been getting around, if I go back here and show it to me for a second, 7.1 liters over the last 280 kilometers. However, that also includes some more sportier driving. When you were driving it, before we were driving sporty, you were getting around 5.7, 5.5? 5.5 liters. And that, with a 57 liter tank, gets you more than 1,000 kilometers on a single fuel tank, which is already quite a lot. You can see on here, we're currently still looking at 701 kilometers of range. But if you theoretically get it to be more efficient, you can get it all the way up to the top there, which would be above those 1,000 kilometers, which again makes this car quite efficient. And then for those longer journeys, you also get a fairly comfortable suspension here, which is does a good job of smoothing out the bumps. And also the isolation here is also quite nice. I read a lot of problems about the tire noise. Honestly, you can hear right now, tire noise definitely not an issue. Also, when we're driving at higher speeds, definitely didn't think that the tire noise was something that was extremely loud or so. So again, isolation is quite nice in this car. and you get a comfortable cabin where you just feel at home, good quality, quite easy to use, and also a lot of safety features as well. Adaptive cruise control, for instance, you get blind spot assistance, collision warning and stuff like that, which makes this car also quite safe to drive. And one thing that I can't do right now, but the sporty feeling of the car actually is better than its competitors due to the fact that the car is just lower than its competitors, and therefore you have a better sense of less body lean, which makes this car just feel a lot more agile and sporty around the corners. And with that CVT, obviously it's going to be a little bit louder, but I really didn't have an issue. Only if you're driving at higher speeds, then I think the CVT is going to be louder. I personally haven't driven it at like 173 at its top speed, but if you're driving that, consumption is going to go up, and also that gearbox is probably going to be a little bit louder. So what is my final verdict on the Honda CR-V? In my opinion, it's a quite nice car with very good consumption, good quality inside. You get a lot of standard equipment, which is already quite nice. And in my opinion, a fairly decent looking design with also nice ride quality, which allows the car to just be fairly comfortable when you're driving it. Obviously, compared to its competitor, it's not going to have the biggest amount of boot space. So if you're really looking for that, well, maybe pick up something else. But otherwise, I think it's a good all-around concept, and especially with a range of basically 1,000 kilometers and even more considering the fuel consumption that I mentioned in the drive. What do you think of the car? Let me know in the comments, and make sure to like, subscribe for more. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.